What's good, y'all? What's happening? It's Asia, your podcast homegirl, coming back at y'all with another one, aka your Bible homegirl. Today we are going to be talking about God said you are qualified. Who told you you wasn't? We as people, we have to stop listening to people. People will categorize people based off where they think a person should be in their lives. And who died and made you king? Come on now. Because if God qualifies you and God says you're qualified, that's all that matters. That's all the qualification I need. That's all the validation I need. So just because my path don't look like your path, it doesn't mean that I'm not qualified to do said thing, or I'm not qualified to do whatever it is that God has called for me to do. And y'all know I got Bible. Come on now. Because let's not act like God don't use regular people. God uses the underdog and people who say are underqualified. So God uses the people that other people say are underqualified. God uses the underdog. So God like, okay, bet. So if y'all classify them as underdogs, God like, well, those are the ones I'm going to use. If y'all classify them as underqualified, God like, well, then I guess I specialize in underqualified. Because and if you read throughout the course of the Bible, you know, God don't really use rich people to do a lot of stuff. God typically I call it the hood. God go to the hood because the hood gonna get it done every time. The hood is the realest. People bite off the hood all the time. People go to the hood to get, even nowadays, people go to the hood to get their fashion, advice, the latest trends, all type of stuff. You know, people who grew up and had good lives in the suburbs, they want to be in the hood and do hood stuff and hang out with hood people because it's something, I guess, it's something authentic about the struggle. Because it's like, just because I'm struggling or I'm in a hood or I don't have whatever fancy, whatever you think I should have, don't mean that I'm not qualified to do said thing. Clearly, if y'all come into where I am and, you know what I'm saying, like biting off me, clearly whatever I'm doing is working. And God is taking notice and God is taking notice as well. So let's hop into these scriptures real quick because y'all know I got Bible and I got a lot of examples in the Bible to show you that God uses people who people deem as underqualified or underdogs. So let's just hop into it. So Moses, number one, we gonna start off with him. So Moses, I'm looking at my notes. You see me looking down. So Moses, he had a speech problem and he was a murderer. And his speech problem in Exodus 4:10, that's where it tells you he had a speech problem. Exodus chapter 2, verse 11 through 12, that's when it tells you that, you know, he was a murderer and he murdered somebody. Exodus 7:7, it says Moses was 80 years old when God called him, and his brother Aaron was 83 years old. So which lets you know God do not look at age. He don't look at whatever it is your situation got going on. God could have been like, oh my God, he's 80 years old. Why would I use someone that's 80? Why wouldn't he use someone that's 80? So yes, God used Moses when he was 80 years old. Exodus 13:7. He was used by God to free the slaves. And so I just recommend you all just go and read the whole story of Moses. It started in Exodus chapter 2 and just read the whole thing. But he used Moses. So, and now we'll look at a person with like a speech impediment or somebody who has a stutter and be like, oh my God, well no, they can't do nothing. They can't go and talk, you know, in the White House, or they can't get before people. They can't do this. They can't do that. We instantly count people out based off their imperfection, based off their disability, whatever it is they got going on. If it doesn't appear to be normal to us, or if it's not up to our standards, we as people, we tend to dismiss people and be like, oh no, that person can't do that. When in reality, they can do that. Because clearly God uses those people. I done said clearly like 1,000 times. So sorry. So let's move on. Joseph, he was lied on, left for dead, enslaved, in prison, and he became second in command to Pharaoh. And he was the youngest brother. And you can read his story in Genesis chapter 37 through chapter 50. He went through a lot. So just take what I'm saying and apply to your life now. People have been lied on. People have been left for dead, enslaved, in prison, all type of stuff. See, let me tell you something. God loved the people down in the prison. He loved using them because he just felt like, listen, at this point, not at this point, but he like, they've been through so much. At that point, they can't do nothing but tell the truth at this point. It's like you might as well just go ahead and let God use you to go ahead and, make it do what it do. Ruth. So Ruth, she was married. Then her husband died. She ain't had no kids, no land, no nothing. All she had was her name, which didn't hold no weight. And back then, if a woman didn't have a husband, she ain't really had nothing. And she ended up marrying Boaz. He was a rich man, and they had a baby. So that's what God will do. God does that type of stuff. Just because we look at ourselves and say, oh, I don't have a name. I don't have fancy stuff. I don't have a fancy car. I don't have a fancy name. I don't have nothing to my name. I don't have nothing. All I have is me. And nobody's going to listen to me, whatever. And I'm giving y'all examples of God is saying you are qualified. Ruth didn't have anything. All she had was her name. That's it. She had a husband, but then he had died. And she ended up marrying Boaz, and he had her, he was as they say now, he was a high value man. And they had a baby. So it's stuff like that where it's like God do not look at things the way we see things. So if a person tells you or tells us, oh, you're not qualified to do that, or you're the underdog, or you can't do that, or you shouldn't say that, or you can't do that. Says who? Says who? Says who? Says who? Says who? Because if God says that I can do these things, then I can do these things. If God has called me, I can do these things. God has given every last one of us gifts and talents. The Bible says gifts and callings are without repentance. God has given every last one of us a gift inside of us to be used. Look at the world we live in. The world is innovative. So we have Amazon today because someone was innovative. We have iPhones today because somebody was innovative. We have airplanes today because somebody was innovative. We have vehicles today because somebody was innovative. We have access to copying machines and stoplights. Somebody was innovative. That was a gift that God put inside of somebody to say, you know what? Hey, I can do this. I'm really good at this. We have electricity right now because somebody was innovative. That is a gift that God put inside of that person and you. We all have a gift. Some people have a gift to clean really well. That's why they have cleaning services. Somebody have gifts of selling cars. That's why they have car salesmen. Everybody is not good at everything, but whatever your gift is, that is your gift. And so it may not look the way other people want it to look because it's not their gift. That's why. So nobody can tell me that, oh, okay, Asia, you can't do that. Says who? If I have the gift to do that God has given me, that God-given ability, that gift to do said thing, I can do said thing. Okay? Right now we have motivational speakers. People will be like, why is that a thing? Because people need to be motivated. God knew that it was going to come a time where somebody was going to need to be motivated. God knew it was going to come a time where everybody wasn't going to want to read the Bible. Let's just tell the truth. God knew that he had to put the ability for people to write books because he knew self-help books, motivational books, because God knew that everybody wasn't going to be fond of the Bible. Everybody don't have the ability to write books. Everybody don't have the ability to motivate people. Everybody don't have the ability to be a comedian. Get up there and tell jokes. Are you serious? Everybody don't have the ability to make someone laugh. That is a gift that God has given you. So yes, somebody may say, oh, you're not funny to you. But if that person applied their gift and go out into the world and start, hitting up comedy circuits and then start cultivating that gift and activating that gift, just because you have a gift, the gift still needs to be cultivated. It needs to be activated. It needs to be nourished. The gift still needs to be work put into the gift. It's like anything else. You can have a seed in your hand. We know it's an apple seed, but the apple seed still have to go through a process. You have to put it in the ground. You got to water it. You got to give it daylight. And then it's going to start to grow and do what it's supposed to do. Our gifts are the same way. You can sit doormat on your gift all day long, but it does not negate the fact that the gift is not there. Just because somebody says, oh, you can't do that, you're not good enough to do that, whatever, it does not mean that the gift is not there. They don't possess the power to snatch your gift away. Just because people talk crazy and feel like, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. Okay, it doesn't mean that the gift is not still there. Your gift is still there. So God uses people that people say can't be used or shouldn't be used. Yes, you can. You can be used, and God does use all of us. I mean, if you see, it's people out here that have the gift of mothering, the gift of fathering, the gift of being a mentor. Everybody don't have that gift to know how to talk to kids. Everybody don't have that gift to know how to, work at a daycare and take care of kids. Everybody don't have the patience to deal with children. That is a gift that God puts inside of us. And some people may look at people and say, oh, girl, you ain't even got no kids. How you gonna, come on now. It's people that don't have kids and who know how to nurture and tend to children, and they never had kids. It's a gift that God's put inside of people. But if we as people sit back and listen to people tell us that we are not qualified to do said thing, we will literally be sitting looking stupid. So like I'm giving y'all Bible examples right now. If Ruth would have sat back and listened to people tell her, girl, you don't have no husband, you don't have no kids, you have no land, like, girl, you might as well just go ahead and do something strange for some change. If she would have listened to those people, she wouldn't have never followed her mother-in-law, and she would have never met her husband Boaz, and she wouldn't have never had a child. That's why we have to stop listening to people, and we have to listen to God. What do God say about me? What do God say for my life? What is Jesus saying for me? Okay, because you not Jesus. Your voice is not Jesus. Who died and made you king? So because of that, that's why we have to just stop listening to people and just go with what we know and let God direct us as we go along, as we go along our journey. So let me move on. And so Gideon, he was weak and scary. And you can find him in Judges chapter 6, verses 15. And he was a judge for Israel. So if you read his story, he was very scary and he was weak. And when God called him to be a judge over Israel, he was like, I can't do that. And he just started he basically was like, I'm scary. And he was weak. He was real scary. And God was just like, okay, we all know somebody right now that's scary. We all know somebody who always scary. They weak. And you be like, okay, don't tell this person because they weak. We all know a weak, scary person. So imagine that person. Imagine God using that person to basically be president of the United States or be like your local congressman. That's basically what it is. So he was weak and scary and he felt like he couldn't do it. But God was like, yeah, you can do it. And so Deborah, she was a judge in Israel. And back then, women didn't have positions like that. And then you can find her in Judges starting chapter 4, starting at verse 4. So again, how people love to discredit women and be like, oh, a woman can't do this, a woman can't do that. Listen, baby, if God says a woman can do said job, she can do said job. I just gave y'all, Deborah, she was a judge in the Bible days. And back then, women didn't have positions like that. They didn't. But God called her and used her because God do not look at the qualifications of how people categorize and qualify people. God don't do that. God say, listen, God has his own criteria of how he qualify people and what he do. So God didn't look back and say, oh, women can't do that. God, I created the woman. So why would I say she can't do something? If I called her to do said thing, she's going to do said thing, period. And that's just what it was. So if you continue to read her story, you will see that, she took her people into victory. Yeah, so what's happening? So Jacob, he was a liar and a trickster. Come on now, we all know a liar and a trickster. And, listen, you may be the liar and a trickster, okay? But he conspired with his mama to trick and lie to his father for his brother's Esau's blessing. And the 12 tribes of Israel came from him, which were the names of his 12 sons. And you can find him in Genesis chapter 27. So again, just because we fall into things, you're not categorized by whatever it is you did. Just because you may have committed a crime and you went to prison, whatever, God don't look at it as like, oh, you know, you are categorized by the crime you committed. God don't look at us like that. He'd be like, okay, whatever, you did it. I still need to use you to go and, you know, reach other people, go reach other criminals, go and do other things. So God just don't disqualify us based off what we did. If anything, God just want to clean us up and use us so we can go out throughout the world and continue to spread the gospel. So yes, let's move on. So Saul, he came from the smallest tribe in Israel. So imagine you coming from the smallest family. So it's like if your mama and your uncles and aunties, but out of y'all, your uncles and aunties, your mama, she the only one got like 1, 2 kids. And everybody else got like 6, 7, 8 kids. And your mama got like the smallest family. You know what I'm saying? It's just 2 of y'all. And that's just what it is. So he came from the smallest tribe in Israel, the tribe of Benjamin, and he came from the least important family. So, you know, we all know, you know, how people try to be like, oh, your family ain't important. What? Why my family not important? I don't understand. And so, and he became king at 30, and he was king for 42 years. And you can find that in 1 Samuel chapter 29, verse 21. That's where he talk about being from the smallest tribe and the least important family. Chapter 10 is where he's anointed king. In 1 Samuel 13:1, the age he became king and how long he was king. So I'm giving y'all a Bible to show y'all that this, throughout the course of the Bible, this is who God is choosing. God is not out here choosing people like, oh, well, they got money and status, so quite naturally I'll choose them. God like, nah, everybody I just named, they didn't have no money, no status, no clout. They didn't have no reputation throughout the city. They didn't have nothing. So according to us, they was a nobody. According to what people would say, oh, they're a nobody. You know what I'm saying? They're just a regular person. Right, to you. But to God, God like, no, I want to use that person. That person not a nobody. That person is a somebody, and I want to use that person. Okay? And so, his name was Jethan, and his mama was a prostitute. He was the side baby. His daddy was married, so he ain't get shown no love. He was a gang leader, but he could fight real good. Come on, like story of a lot of hood. That's just like I don't want to say hood classic, but it's just like we all know somebody who's a product of being a side baby. Your mama was the side chick. You know what I'm saying? Your daddy and his wife didn't really mess with y'all like that. So, you know, you really not finna get show no love over here. So, you know, he could fight real good. So quite naturally, he ran to the streets. You know what I'm saying? He became a gang leader. And, you know, he had him a little crew. And he could fight real good. You can find him in Judges chapter 11, verse 1-3. But I recommend you read the whole chapter 11 because God used him despite how he was conceived and who his mama was. His mama was a side chick and he was the side baby. Ain't nothing new under the sun, y'all. So all this new terminology, side chick, you side baby, ain't nothing new under the sun. You know what I'm saying? They been tipping and dipping and doing all that stuff. Okay? So just letting you know. He had no clout, no status, no fame, no nothing. But God did what? He still used him. And God knew his mama was a prostitute. God wasn't like, oh, no, I can't use him because his mama a prostitute. God was like, baby, let me tell you something. That ain't got nothing to do with you. I need you to go and do said job. And that's exactly what God did. So come on now. So we got to stop letting people trick us out of our position and making us think that we're not qualified to do stuff when we are. We are. And so Rahab, she was a prostitute and she saved her whole family. And her son is Boaz. Remember Boaz? Boaz, that's Ruth's husband. Right. And so you can find her story in Joshua chapter 6, verse 25. It shows where she is a prostitute and she saved her family. In Matthew chapter 1, verse 5, you can read where it says Rahab is Boaz's mama, which is Ruth's husband. You get what I'm saying? So this is who God is using. So God used Rahab. She was a prostitute. He used Ruth. She was a no name. She had no money, no clout, no nothing. Come on now. But Rahab the prostitute gave birth to Boaz. Rahab the prostitute gave birth to Boaz, who became rich and wealthy and married Ruth, who was a no-name. And they had a son. Come on. This is what God does. This is how he works, right? Let's move on. So Joshua and Caleb, the only 2 out of the 12 spies who believe they can take the land. That's in Numbers chapter 14, verses 36 through 38. So sometimes the crew you be running with, your crew would talk you out of stuff. Like, oh no, we can't do that. We can't do that. And then people who the least in the crew speak up and say, you know what? No, I believe we can. And those are the ones, remember the weak and scary ones? Those are the ones. Everybody will be like, out of all people, you talking, you the one talking, you can't do a whole time. God don't call the weak and the scary. And the weak and the scary ones be the main ones with the most courage. But because they have been told all their lives, you weak, you scary, you can't fight, you can't do nothing. Just so much negativity spewed at them, they started to believe it. But whole time they were super courageous, and they were the ones who were ahead of the pack, opposed to the one who we thought should have been ahead of the pack. Come on now. And David, he was a shepherd and he was the youngest brother. He was anointed king by God in replace of Saul. And you can find him in 1 Samuel chapter 16, verses 1 through 16. It talks all about David, and how he was anointed king, how he was a shepherd. So again, come on now. We all got siblings. It may be like, oh, I got 9, 10 siblings. And it's just like, well, I can't do that because my sister, she looks better, or my brother, he does this and he does that. Okay, but they not me though. They not me. You went to college. I didn't. You got a corporate job. I don't care. So God don't look at it. If God looked at who has what, then God wouldn't use nobody. He'll always just use rich people, because if we're going off tangible things, but clearly the examples I'm giving, God ain't going off people who got tangible things. God going off selfless people who's willing to do the job. God is basically, I ain't never met no selfless rich person. I ain't never seen on social media, none of that. I ain't never seen a rich person to be like, you know what? Because in the Bible, the rich man came to Jesus and said, what can I do to follow you? Jesus said, give up all your wealth and come follow me. The rich man said, no, get somebody else to do it. And he didn't. You get what I'm saying? That's why God knows that I can't use no rich person. And because he tried, and the rich man was like, I'm not going to give up all my wealth and my riches and everything I done worked hard for. And God was like, Jesus like, okay, but who do you think gave you the ability to get the things? So I don't, you know what I'm saying? Make it make sense. This is why God look for people, selfless people who's willing to do the job. And God will raise them up, because God has to get the glory through said situations, through the people. And if a rich person, no shade to rich people, but you know what I mean? But if a rich person, God used them, they'll say it was by their ability. It's their money, their cars, their resources. And God is like, okay, and where is God getting the glory out of all of this? He not, because they're looking to themselves as if they did it. So that's why God is like, I have to show y'all that I don't look by those qualifications. And this is why. So that's why he goes and he uses people who's willing to be used, selfless individuals who's not selfish, humble, willing to do the job and get the job done, because they just who people will look at and be like, I can't believe that person did that. I can't believe that person did this or did that. And the whole time it's just like, yeah, because God gets the glory out of the situation. and God will supply what that person's need to get whatever job done that God said that he needs done through that person. So, Solomon, he was not the favorite child, but he became king after his father, King David. And that's in 1 Kings chapter 1, verses 29 through 35, where Solomon becomes king. So King David, which was the shepherd who became king, who I just talked about in replace of Saul, he had a lot of wives and a lot of kids. And his favorite son was Absalom, one of his oldest. King Solomon, his mama was Bathsheba. And Solomon was not like one of the favorite kids. He wasn't. And so, but he became king next. So again, God don't look at, oh, the oldest, they naturally up next. Or this person is naturally up next. God don't look at stuff like that. God look at it like, okay, whatever. Who do I want to use? God got his own set of rules as of how he qualified people for whatever job that he needs done. And God do not look at what people say. Because if God listened to people, then he wouldn't be God. That's why he's God, because he can't listen to people. He's a creator. Why would the creator listen to the creation when he see how the creation is currently running the world? That don't make sense. He would never do that. So let's move on. Even some of the disciples. So Jesus had 12 disciples. And Peter and Andrew, they were just fishermen. You can find that in Matthew 4, verse 18. James and John, they were brothers. They were also fishermen. Matthew chapter 4, verses 21 through 22. Matthew, he was a tax collector, meaning he worked for the IRS. Okay? Nowadays, that's a good job. But I'm just saying, you know, just because you work for the IRS, everybody that works for the IRS is not rich. They're not like just rolling in the dough. You know, he was a tax collector, meaning AKA he worked for the IRS. He worked for the federal government. Okay? You can find that in Matthew chapter 9, verse 9. The Apostle Paul. He wasn't one of the original 12, but he was a great apostle for Jesus, and he worked and he wrote majority of the New Testament. He was a tent maker. And you can find that in Acts 18, chapter 18, verse 3. Luke, he was a physician. A doctor is a really good job to have, okay? And Colossians chapter 4, verse 14 is where you can read is Luke is a physician. So again, he's a physician. He's a physician, but it's not like, oh, he owns the hospital. He has his own private clinic, nothing like that. Nah, he a physician. No shade to the doctors. You know, they make a decent coin. But out of the list I just read, like Matthew, he was a tax collector, and Luke, he was a physician. Like those were the most like fanciest jobs off the list I just read. But besides that, everybody on the list was just regular people. You know, your average neighbor, your average co-worker, and that's basically it. So if God calls us and qualifies us to do said thing at whatever time, at whatever the age, go forth and do it and be great. Don't let people talk you out of it. But again, don't just be out here doing stuff, claiming in the name of Jesus whole time. God ain't got nothing to do with that. So no, when God calls you and qualifies you, you know, you have to come now unto him. You know, you have to like turn from whatever it is you was doing, you know, whatever, if you was sinning, go ahead, stop all that, come into Christ, you know what I'm saying, get saved, get baptized, you know, baptism is a bonus. Get saved, get baptized, you know what I'm saying, like find you a good church home, you know, start praying, reading the Bible, fast and stuff like that, and, you know, seek God, and, you know, start learning the voice of God, start learning the, you know, the voice and the ways of the Holy Spirit and whatnot, and then, you know, let God come in and cultivate your gift, and, you know, make you a disciple in him, and then you can go out and do whatever it is that he said for you to do. You know, because now you can actively say in the name of Jesus, because, you know, you have done the proper things to come into the sheepfold as a Christian, and, you know, under the guidance of the Holy Spirit, you know, by way of Jesus Christ. And so if God qualified you, do not let people talk you out of saying that you can't do whatever it is that, you were called to do. Everybody can't be a plumber. Everybody can't be an electrician. Everybody can't, be out here snow plowing and doing all this stuff that everybody don't want to do. Okay, everybody ain't opening up grocery stores every day. Okay, everybody can't be entrepreneurs. But as we see, some people are really good at it. Some people are really good at poetry. Some people are really good at just a mechanic. People are just really good at their things, and whatever it is that God has qualified you to do, and if you feel as though in your heart that's what God has called for you to do, then go ahead and do said thing. If you say, you know what, God has called me to be a teacher, I'm going to go back to college and be a teacher. If you feel like God has called you to go and do that, then you go back to college and you get your little degree and you go ahead and apply down at the schoolhouse, because God is probably calling you, you know what I'm saying, to go into a school for a specific child at a specific time. You know, it's different things, because God projects down the line. So God don't just look at right now. He projects down the line. That's why God is very adamant about wanting and needing to use us, people who's willing to be used. And if we sit back and let people, our mama's names and daddy's names and cousin names and neighbors and friends and co-workers, or, you know, just kept being told you the weakest link, you can't do that, you can't do that. Oh, well, if we sit back and keep on doing that, then nothing will ever get done. Nothing will ever get done. We will never get off of our do nothing stool and actually activate our gift and let God cultivate the gift, use the gift, and then like share our gift with the world. With the world. You know what I'm saying? While giving God the glory at the same time. And that's just what it is. You know? So I'm standing here before y'all right now talking about Jesus and, you know, spreading the gospel and whatnot. And I got a YouTube channel. It's growing. And I'm just like, okay, well, I thank God for the subscribers and whatnot, because I'm just like, it comes a time where you have to just do what you're good at. I'm just naturally good at speaking. It's going to get a whole lot better. Of course, the more I do it, the better I will get. My ultimate goal in life is to be a motivational speaker. I'm really good at talking. I'm really good at motivating people. I'm really good at controlling a room. I could be in a room full of people. It does not intimidate me. You give me a mic, I will rock the room. I will shake the room. I don't know. It's just something in me. There's God where I have the ability to do that. You know, I do comedy. So you give me a mic, naturally, I just know how to tell jokes and make people laugh. How do I know how to do these things? It's a gift that God has given me. And for a long time, I didn't want to even get into comedy, because I was just like, you know, I'm like backyard funny, but not like on stage funny. Until one day, a pastor allowed me to get before his congregation and tell jokes, and everybody was laughing. And I was like, I can't believe this. And I did it once, I did it twice, and I just kept doing it. And I had me like a little manager at some point, and she was like getting me shows, and then I was like starting to get paid a little bit, and I was just like, this is crazy. People was like actually laughing, and like they remembered me and wanted to take pictures, and I was just like, is this real? It's real, because everybody does not have the gift and the ability to make people laugh. And so for me, I looked at it like I wasn't qualified to do that. And God like says, who told you that? We have to stop believing negative things that people say about us, and negative things that we think about, that we say and think about ourselves. Because nobody ever told me that I wasn't funny. They never said that. It's just for me, I naturally concluded that I wasn't comedy stage funny, but nobody ever told me I wasn't. I told myself that. You know what I'm saying? And like, even standing here before you all, I'm just like, okay, talking and stuff, but I was like looking at my family, other family members, other siblings. Oh, they got this, got that, whatever. And I'm just like, well, I don't have the ability to do that or get that, or I don't want to do that. I don't want to go to college. I'm not going to do it. I'm not about to go get in debt. I can't do it. And I didn't. So I was like, I got to find my lane. I got to carve out my lane on my own. And I'm standing before y'all because I'm just like, whatever. I'm good at talking, so I talk. And I'm really good at breaking stuff down, so I break stuff down. I'm really good with working with the youth, so I work with the youth. I want to have my own daycare, so I went and got my child care certifications. You see that? Because I'm really good at working with children. I'm really good at working with youth. I don't know. I just have a way with them. I know how to talk to them. I know how to get through to them. I know how to have a conversation with them when they're around me. I'm a vibe, they a vibe. And, you know, we have like a mutual respect for one another. Everybody ain't got that gift. They don't. And so, you know, I aspire to have my own after school program someday. So what did I do? I put the proper channels in place and, you know, the paperwork and whatnot. And so I'm just like, whatever. It's slow motion, but it's motion. Because I'm like, who says I can't have an after school program? The Boys and Girls Club had to start somewhere. They had to start somewhere. The Boys and Girls Club didn't just magically pop up all over the country. The Boys and Girls Club had to start somewhere. One location, one brick, one layer, and then eventually it just like erupted everywhere. So I'm just like, if I can literally see somebody who actively did what I want to do, it lets me know it can be done. So that's why I don't count myself out. I had to get to a point where I had to stop listening to people. I had to stop looking at what other people had and comparing myself to that and hearing people tell me, oh, girl, you need to get somewhere and do something with your life. You need to get somewhere and you need to get somewhere. You need to, girl, them kids, you got them kids and you got, and I said, oh, girl, please shut up. Shut up. Because your path is not my path. I don't care if I have to keep hitting reset. I will keep hitting reset until I get it right, until I feel settled in my spirit about what I want to do. And I'll verify with God. And if God say, cool, I can use that. Okay, God, bet. And that's just that. So my youth program, I help kids get jobs. You know, I just talked to a hiring manager today. He said he needs to fulfill 10 spots. I said, I got 30 kids looking for jobs. What's up? He was like, bet, had him apply. I got to go talk to him tomorrow. You get what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to help the youth out here get jobs and stuff. So that's why I'm looking at the people like in my family and stuff. If I would have listened to them and hear them tell me what I should be doing according to their standards, I would not be in this position out here in the field, talking to hiring managers, literally going door to door, getting business card, handing out my business card, trying to make connections, trying to get the kids jobs, because my thing is, listen, if I can keep them working, I can keep them from getting out of trouble. If I can keep them working, I can keep you from not getting pregnant. If I can keep you working, I can keep you from not getting somebody pregnant. I don't care if it's just one. If I can keep you working, get you a job, get you some resources, whatever the case may be, just help you become a productive youth of society, if help you go to college, whatever it is you want to do. If I can help do that, I will do that. Because I don't care if it's one kid out of 100. That's one child that would not have had the help had I not stepped into my God-given gift and ability to operate and work with the youth. That one child would not have had that resource to help them go on and be great in life. You know? And that's how I look at it. If I would have listened to people in my family or people around me, you know, who had something to say, and if I would have lived my life according to their standards, then again, I would not be in the position that I am. I would have not found my niche. I would have not carved out my own lane. I would not have consulted Christ for myself to see what God was saying for my life. God, how can you mold and use me according to your will, your way, not mine, and not according to the will and the way of how other people say I should be conducting my life according to their standards. You can miss me with that. Because I'm not about to conform to it. I'm not doing it. Especially if I'm doing it God's way and I'm not just out here pump faking, like, and it's just using in the name of Jesus the whole time. Don't even know God, not spending time with him, not praying, not fasting, not nothing. But see, you know what I'm saying? Just like basically doing it for the clicks and views. No, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. No, because it took me forever to even get to this point where I could stand in front of a camera and make videos and talk about the gospel. Because I was just like, I don't want to do that. And God was just like, again, not your will, but my will be done. Lay your will down, Asia. Pick up my will. And by my will, you will make videos spreading the gospel, because you never know who your video can help. And that is so true. I've made videos and people have commented on the videos and was like, your video popped up on my YouTube algorithm and I clicked on it, and everything you were saying, I needed to hear that. You get what I'm saying? So no, I'm not some big YouTuber. You know, and if God takes my channel to wherever it is he takes, I tell God all the time, it's not my YouTube channel, it's yours. So if God grows my YouTube channel, great. If he doesn't, oh well. It is what it is. Okay? I'll live to see another day, and I will continue to spread the gospel. So that's that. So I'm going to wrap this up with saying this. I gave y'all a lot of people in the Bible. I gave a lot of examples in the Bible of people who God called and used. God did not care about age. He did not care about disability, handicap, whatever it is. If God didn't say we're that, we have to stop believing negative things about ourselves, whether we feed them to ourselves or we allow other people to feed us negative things, or we allow other people to say negative things about us. We have to stop believing this stuff because it's not true. God does not talk negative about us. God say nothing but positive things about us all the time. God constantly has to remind us all the time. We are the head and not the tail. We are above and not beneath. We are the lender and not the borrower. God got to constantly keep having to tell us who we are. Never, you know what I'm saying? He has never seen the righteous forsaken. We are the righteousness. We are the righteousness of God. He has never seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. You see that? He got to constantly keep reminding us. And so we have to constantly walk into our authority and constantly believe it about ourselves until it becomes a part of us. Okay? So let's stop letting people feed us negativity and we have to stop letting people and tell us that we're not qualified. God specialized and underqualified. God specialized in the underdog. That's his specialty. And I look at it like, well, God love the hood. He do. God love the hood because they the realest. They the realest. They like, ain't no point in me pump faking. What's up? What you see is what you get. They don't try to like change their vernacular. They don't try to change the way they like, what's up? What you see is what you get, what's happening. And God, like, I love that. Okay? Let me clean it up a little bit. But God, like, yeah, I'm going to use that. You know, so we out here trying to get rid of the, you know what I'm saying, like the pop off. God, like, no, keep the pop off. I'm just going to cultivate it, polish it. You know what I'm saying? And now you're going to pop off for me. And that's just what it is. So, yeah. That's all I got. I ain't got nothing else, y'all. I thank y'all so much for watching. I hope this helps somebody. And what else? Subscribe, comment, share if you care. If you're watching this on Facebook, please click the link and go over and follow me on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, just hit subscribe. Just hit subscribe. That's all you got to do. Okay? Always remember, if God be for us, who can be against us? Until next time, y'all stay blessed. Thanks for watching.